we enjoyed hosting every year. You know, it started several years ago, and it was a lot smaller, our first one, and it has grown every year. This gives us an opportunity to, you know, speak with each one of you formally, but also informally. If there's anything, you know, that you have questions about, please feel free to corner any one of us, either within the classroom or outside in the hall. We are all available to you. It gives us a chance to talk about our year. We had really a bittersweet year in the police department. It was a year where it started out in the spring where one of our officers, Candace Lassiter, was out assisting a motorist, and she was hit and struck by another car in this type of weather, and she still is out trying to recover. We also had an officer that was injured, Julianne Dowie, out at our airport, where she was assisting the airport officials out there in removing a very intoxicated woman from the bar there, and she had her ankle broke, and Julianne is still suffering from that and recovering. And then Joe Gonzalez, as we all know, was very seriously injured. He is doing well. He's still recovering. And so we ask for your prayers for all of the officers who are injured and for their families this year. You know, we have used this forum in the past as a way to sort of float ideas out to you. Several years ago, we talked about the red light cameras at this forum. And we provided information to you, and we said, okay, we're thinking about putting these red light cameras in place. What do you all think? And there was actually a great deal of support. There was a lot of interest, there were a lot of questions, but there was a lot of support from this group. And we were encouraged to pursue it. Well, we didn't right away. You know, I wanted to wait another year before implementing or moving forward, because I wanted to look at how these things were being viewed on the national level, the state level, where were the laws going. I think there were some constitutional battles originally on whether or not these, you know, were legal or not. And so we waited another year, and we brought it back out the next year and said, okay, we haven't done this yet. And the sentiment among the group the second year was, why haven't you rolled these out yet? So we moved forward. And I know that there's not 100% support for this kind of technology, but they are effective. And we would not have moved forward, even as effective as they are, we would not have rolled these out had this group not said, try them out, because this is our community. And, you know, you can get folks that can blog and talk and tweet and whatever from all over the state. But I really believe that you all, the leaders of the neighborhoods, should have a say on how we police and what kind of enforcement and technology that we roll out. We also, so we're going to talk a little bit about those today. We're going to provide some statistics, and if you have questions about any of those, there'll be an opportunity to ask those. We're also going to talk about our license plate readers, and we rolled that technology out at the last forum. We have a couple of cars with those, and what they do is they capture a lot of data, a lot of different license plates at one time, and they match that to some of our state lists of, for instance, stolen cars. So if we're driving down the street, you know, officers have a lot on their minds, and, you know, we pass by stolen cars all the time. We pass by cars where the driver is wanted for robbery or homicide or whatever the case may be, and it goes undetected. But these license plate readers capture that plate and run it without the officer having to do anything, and they alert when they pass one of these cars. So they've been very valuable, and we'll kind of show you that technology. And again, we would not have moved forward had we not had your okay to do that. So this forum is really valuable for us. It gives us a chance to get a sense for what are you all concerned about, and how do we best go about working together to solve crime in Des Moines. usually do receive anywhere from $8 to $10 million each year in grant dollars. And you saw a little bit of how those are spent in overtime and in purchasing equipment. Most of that goes to those kinds of things. Everything else is for salary. Now, what happens in our budget, without giving you a budget 101, and I might ask Mr. Farr, who is sort of a budget whiz, to help me out here. In our budget, we have one line item, along with many others. That line item is for overtime. And I am budgeted about $700,000 for overtime. We go over that. We know we're going to go over that every year. The city manager has made a conscious choice after discussion with our finance director, knowing that we're going to go over it. Now, we can do one of two things. We can either put that line item of what we think it's going to be in overtime, or we can pay for that overage with vacancies. In other words, when employees leave, when police officers leave, and we have openings anywhere from 15 to 30 a year, we don't go right out and hire police officers. When we have a vacancy, we take on that vacancy until the next hiring phase and until the next police academy. So our academies are spanned out. Well, rather than budget in and pay higher taxes, because there are tax implications to increasing my budget, we pay for that overtime with the vacancy salaries. It's what is referred to as salary savings. I am under budget for this fiscal year, okay? It was confusing. Those were very long articles. I'll tell you, I didn't even read them because I was so upset with the headlines. My own mother called. She goes, "Oh, they're not that bad. You know, you ought to read them." I said, "I'm not going to read them because it's really difficult to read this stuff, to understand it, because you think the police department, the city of Des Moines is doing something wrong in its budgeting, especially when we're looking at reductions. We're not through developing our budgets, especially when we're talking about as a community franchise fees, those kinds of things. But I can tell you, the police department is under its budget. It might be over on that one line, but I'm using the salary savings to pay for our overtime. I also have to point out that the special events that are held in the city of Des Moines have increased over the last 10 years from, we used to have 5 or 6, annual ones. We had over 150 special events. And all of those expenses, if you're an organizer for the Des Moines Marathon, for the High V Triathlon, we get reimbursed. We get reimbursed, and that pays for some of the overtime. So when you see these $1 million or $2 million overages, half of that's going to be reimbursed from the special event organizers. So bear that in mind. Okay? Questions?
The way you explained it certainly won't make a good headline, so they're certainly not going to start with the facts.
Thank you. I'm going to end it on that. I'll let you go eat, but I'm going to be around if you have questions and want to talk about that. So, again, thank you all for coming. I am so very proud of our neighborhood-based officers and sergeants. They're dedicated and they're committed to you all. So, that's all.